What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go for this week, lots of bombshell stories here. So first off is a new report from Autocar that claims to have Japan-based sources that say that the Evo 11 is happening and the Evo is returning. And it's going to be offered in both a four-door sedan and a four-door hatchback, actually. So kind of compete with the Civic Type R, stuff like that. But it will actually be a real sedan. This isn't some crossover thing, according to this report. Again, it's just rumors for now, so I wouldn't hold your breath just yet. But, hopefully this does turn out to be true. Autocar says it'll be on a shared Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi platform, and it'll be running a newer version of the platform that's currently used for the Renault Megane and the Infiniti QX50. And they say it's likely to get the engine from the next-gen Renault Megane RS, which is a 2-liter turbo 4 that's combined with a dual-clutch automatic. And so the current Megane S does 300 horsepower, so they're guessing something around there is to be expected, but then it's also rumored to have a hybrid boost to go along with that to get it closer to 350 horsepower. And so it would also, of course, use Mitsubishi's all-wheel drive system most likely. And Car and Driver is speculating that this could be part of a family of Evos that could be coming potentially, since we know that Mitsubishi's been toying with the idea of an Evo crossover, but supposedly, according to these sources, this is not going to be a crossover. So, I'm hoping that that's accurate and we'll just have a sedan. And then if they want to make an SUV too, whatever. At least as long as the actual sedan comes back, I think that'd be big enough and keep the enthusiasts happy. And if they want to try and build a whole family out of it, go for it. But, you remember there was the E-Evolution concept from 2017, which was the crossover, but maybe we would get some of that inspiration for the sedan too once it came. So we'll just have to wait and see. There is the Tokyo Auto Show in October. That could be a nice place to reveal some type of concept or something. But again, we'll have to wait and see if this actually turns out to be true, but exciting to hear nonetheless. Dodge this week has some exciting news. They revealed the 2020 Charger Hellcat Widebody and Scat Pack Widebody, and it looks fantastic to me and gives them most of the same great upgrades that we were first introduced to on the Challenger Widebody. So it's standard on the Hellcat, and so that means that you can't get a narrow body Hellcat anymore. So if you want a Hellcat Charger, you now have to get the wide body. But if you go for the Scat Pack version of the wide body Charger, that's just an option. You can still get a narrow body Scat Pack if you want. But anyway, as far as the wide body here, it adds these fender flares, of course, which add 3.5 inches of width to the car, and it's paired with the restyled front and rear bumpers and new side skirts there to kind of fill it out nicely. The Hellcat also gets a unique spoiler for it. They both get 11-inch wide wheels with 305 wide tires front and back, just like the Challengers with their wide body package. Also, we get stiffer front springs, retuned shocks, and thicker rear anti-roll bars. The Hellcat also gets a thicker front anti-roll bar to go along with that too. All these changes are designed, of course, to give the much better handling that you expect with a wide body package here. And so the Hellcat now generates 0.96 G around the skid pad, and the Scat Pack does 0.98 G around the skid pad. So I mean, these are good handling vehicles. I've taken the wide body Challengers around track, and they do a very good job with the handling. Yes, they're heavy, but aside from the weight, it has plenty of grip, and isn't the boat of a vehicle that so many people make them out to be. And I've said that over and over again, but I'm just reiterating it here for the Charger as well. So anyway, acceleration is also improved with the 0 to 60 times improving. The Hellcat now does 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. The Scat Pack will do 0 to 60 in 4.3. And then the Hellcat has a quarter mile time now of 10.96 seconds, and the Scat Pack will do 12.4 second quarter mile. The only downside here is a slightly lower top speed, which they didn't actually announce, but they announced the new top speed for the Charger Hellcat wide body here, and it's 196. And Charger Hellcats used to be able to do 204 miles per hour. It was actually slightly faster than the Challenger because of its better aerodynamics. So I guess the wider body increases drag and therefore lowers the top speed. But they're not really trumpeting that very much. But it is slightly slower if you're worried about trying to hit 200 miles an hour. You're not going to be able to quite get there anymore in the Charger. But anyway, ordering opens this fall, and cars are arriving in early 2020. They say no pricing was announced yet, but I'm sure we'll get that closer to the fall here. But anyway, interesting to see that. And we we have another bombshell story here. The website Muscle Cars and Trucks published a report claiming to have multiple sources inside GM that say the Camaro will not get a 7th generation and is going to die in 2023, according to their exclusive report here. So there's a lot to kind of think through with this. So first off, to me, this seems a little odd that they would be killing the Camaro off, simply because, you know, we have this new evolution of the Alpha platform that GM just invested in for the new Cadillac CT4 and CT5. And so we have that new platform and it's already been invested in, so it wouldn't take a lot to put the new Camaro on this new platform. Now, I get that, you know, from a bean counter standpoint, the Camaro doesn't sell well at all. It's actually now has dropped even. It used to be in second place. Now the Challenger has overtaken it, and the Mustang is still the sales leader. But the Camaro, I mean, it is not selling well. And I'm sure that the restyles and stuff haven't helped it any either here for 2019, especially. We know that's being fixed for 2020, and there's going to be a lower cost LT1 version that I talked about a few weeks ago. That will hopefully help bring in some more V8 sales for people who were, you know, priced out of the Camaros in the past with the SS. So I get that it's not selling well, and that usually means you just kill the car off. But because you already have the cost sharing with Cadillac here, and the fact that they could really just carry over the powertrains and just, you know, change other things about it to keep it fresh, I think that would still float. But, you know, I mean, Chevy has killed off the Camaro in the past. You know, we didn't have one from 2002 until 2008, and so we had, you know, a 6-year hiatus there. And so they could totally do it again, even as just a temporary thing or as a permanent thing. You know, we just would have to wait and see. But I think with the Corvette getting more expensive, the Camaro has more of a niche here coming up this year than it ever has before. And so that's where I'm a little bit unconvinced by this report. And again, this isn't coming from some massive site with its extensive sources. This is this Muscle Cars and Trucks website, which I haven't heard about until this week, honestly. And so, you know, that's just why I wouldn't freak out yet if you're a Camaro fan. I know a lot of other places are taking this story and running with it, but I still think take this with a heavy grain of salt, because it doesn't seem super logical to me. And also it's potentially could just be put out by General Motors. They could be pushing this rumor just to try and boost sales too, and everyone's like, oh no, the Camaro's going away, let's hurry up and go buy one. And it could even be something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I just, like I said, I wouldn't worry just yet. And even if it does die, that's not until 2023. I'm guessing that's calendar year 2023, which could potentially mean it would stick around till a 2024 model year vehicle. So we still have, you know, 4 or 5 more years here easily of this. And so we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, interesting to hear that. A GM name that could be making a comeback is the GMC Jimmy. And so Car and Driver published a report suggesting they heard that it could be returning, but they didn't cite any sources specifically. So this is another take it with a heavy grain of salt thing. But they're saying they suggest it could be a body-on-frame SUV based on the Chevy Colorado and the GMC Canyon. So it could be basically the SUV everyone was hoping the Blazer would be, and actually be an actual body-on-frame SUV, and that is what they're going to be kind of doing here with the Jimmy, and they would have it, you know, be poised to compete with the Wrangler and the Bronco, and that's kind of the thinking here. And so, you know, we'll have to wait and see if that turns out to be what this is. There's also supposedly rumors that it could just be a trim level for the GMC Canyon truck, and could just be like an off-road model, kind of similar to the Colorado ZR2's, you know, trim level, something like that. And the worst case scenario is, you know, back in the 90s, the Blazer and the Jimmy were the same vehicle basically. And so this could just be GMC's version of the Blazer, you know, unibody crossover. And it could just be something like that too. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. I hope the Car and Driver is correct and it is an actual body-on-frame SUV that everyone's wanting it to be, but we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, interesting to see that. And speaking of Bronco competitors, we have a new little leak about the Bronco this week. And so this comes from Canadian Tire, and this was first spotted by offroad.com. And it appears to be that the 2.3-liter EcoBoost engine is at least going to be one of the engines in the new Bronco, if not the only engine available. So basically there's this parts finder tool, and somehow you click on 2021, you can even go do it yourself on Canadian Tire tire. Parts finder, 2021 Ford, and then Bronco's right there, and the only option available for the engine is a 2.3 liter. And so, this makes sense since most of the Bronco mules we've seen running around are just hacked up Rangers that obviously they're going to have unique styling and stuff. It's not just going to be a Ranger with a cab on the back or anything, but it's going to probably have Ranger based mechanicals. And I will say that I just did the review of the Ranger, and although the interior and the exterior are very underwhelming to me, the powertrain was fantastic. And so you could expect, if the Bronco does run this engine and it doesn't change from the Ranger, you're looking at 270 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, which should be enough. When we're talking about a Wrangler competitor. It's not like Wranglers are drag strip monsters. They don't have V8 engines either or anything. So, I think that's okay. I know everyone wants a V8 Bronco, and I hope that they do something like that, or even a V6, or even just the small EcoBoost V6 from the F-150, the 2.7 or something would be nice. We'll have to see, but as of right now, it looks like the 2.3 is at least going to be in there and might be the only engine. So just prepare yourself if that ends up being the case and you want one of these. Anyway, interesting to see that. For some official Ford truck news here, they announced the return of the Tremor package, but this time it's an off-road focused package for the 2020 F250 and F350, and this is designed to compete with the Ram Power Wagon, basically. So it gives these unique 18-inch wheels, 35-inch tires. It gets a 30mm lift in the front and a 40mm lift in the back, along with special dampers, springs, front axle, and rear stabilizer bar. The air dam has been raised 5 inches for better clearance and stuff. The graphics package, of course, you can see with the Tremor decals on the back, is also part of the package. And so it does have the best, off-road ability of an F250 ever. And so there's 10.8 inches of ground clearance now. It can ford 33 inches of water, and has better breakover angles and all that kind of stuff, again, because of the tweaked front and rear and all that type of stuff. And also, I think they said the running boards are lifted up a little bit as well, so that kind of helps with more ground clearance. It runs a Dana front limit slip differential and has a locking rear diff. But these changes do mean that towing and payload ratings will go down slightly over the regular truck, but the exact numbers weren't revealed yet. The package is available on all trims except for the base model, which is cool, but it does require the crew cab configuration and upgrading to either the 6.7 liter diesel or the 7.3 liter gas V8. And it's also not available on dually models. But anyway, it's going to be on sale at the end of the year, but there is no pricing yet for those. Other official Ford news here, this time from Europe, is that they've revealed the new Ford Puma. And I won't go into too much detail because this right now is only for Europe, but basically it's a crossover coupe, even though it's a four-door, but that's what they're calling it. And it's about 3.5 inches longer than an EcoSport and is based on the new Fiesta platform, which obviously we don't get the new Fiesta here. This could fit in the spot where the Fiesta is leaving, and kind of be something to take its place. Since, again, Ford says we don't want to have any sedans, but this isn't technically a sedan. It's just a hatchback that's lifted an inch or so, but could kind of fill the place and still ring true to their we're doing all crossovers now on. And so anyway, this is front-wheel drive only right now and comes with a 1-liter turbo 3-cylinder engine paired to a 48-volt mild hybrid system. And I did drive that 1-liter turbo 3-cylinder in the Focus a few years back, and for what it is, it's fairly punchy, but maybe it'd be a little bit sportier here in this, because there are two different tunes, and having the 48-volt mild hybrid system might help with the boost of that. But anyway, the two tunes here, one offers 123 horsepower, which is very similar to the Focus, and then there's a higher tuned version that has 153 horsepower. That could be the more fun one. And amazingly, one really cool thing is right now the only transmission available is a 6-speed manual. And obviously in Europe that's not quite as mind-blowing, since the manual transmission is still very common over there and offered in way more vehicles. But that's awesome that that's the only transmission. If you want an automatic, you can't get a Puma for right now. But Ford did say Europeans will be offered a diesel engine and a dual clutch auto to go with it eventually too, for those who want that. But according to Car and Driver, there are some people within Ford corporate that are trying to get the Puma brought over here. And although the looks are kind of different, takes some getting used to, I think it's still cooler than the EcoSport for sure. And especially if it's offered here with a manual. and that, 153 horsepower, that could be a pretty fun little vehicle. Obviously, it's no Fiesta ST, but maybe a Puma ST with those mechanicals or something would be very sweet. If this is some way to kind of get a Fiesta over here and get the sportier versions as well, I would take it. I think that would be great to have offered here. So we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, interesting to see that. And there's a last little bit of Ford news here, and that is they teased a new version of the Ford GT supercar is coming. No one was expecting this, I don't think. But it's going to debut at the Goodwood Festival of Speed next week. And from what we can see here, it seems to be a racier version with this huge fixed rear wing and a roof scoop. So basically it's going to be very much like the race car version, I'm guessing. We'll have to see, what else it has, but excited to see more of that next week. Another very exciting thing is BMW has also revealed this cool new concept called the Vision M Next. And so BMW hasn't given any hints about, what this previews, if anything at all. But since this concept clearly looks like an evolution of the i8 styling, it seems likely to preview a successor to that car, and even has like the gull-wing doors that are very similar to the ones on the i8, things like that. As for the mechanical stuff, it's actually pretty specific, which also gives some credibility this is actually going to be a production car, because it sounds like an i8 evolution, really. It's just a plug-in hybrid, still has a gas engine. It runs a turbo 4-cylinder combined with electric motors to produce 600 horsepower total, getting it from 0 to 62 in 3 seconds flat and up to a 186 mile per hour top speed. It also has 62 miles of electric range. And I remember hearing way back when there were rumors that a new i8 was coming, or a faster i8 that was going to be running a 4-cylinder instead of a 3 and would be having more electric boost. And I even remember hearing numbers around the 600 output previously. So, maybe this is what they've been working on all along, and this will actually be the new i8. The styling is very cool, with even more advanced laser headlights, an illuminated grille, and a very futuristic interior. And so that all very interesting stuff, but hoping, this leads to a production version, hopefully in the not too distant future. Also, at this same event, BMW also announced that they have hired Hans Zimmer, who's the famous movie composer that's done many epic soundtracks like the Dark Knight trilogy, among others. But they've hired him to create sounds for their future electric cars, which to me is great news. I love all of his work, and if anyone can make an electric car sound cool, it's Hans Zimmer, I think. So anyway, BMW's sound designer will be working with him, and their goal is to recreate a sense of wonder through sound, and that accelerating becomes an experience during which the driver moves through a series of gradually morphing sound textures. And they want to kind of reconnect people to their vehicles and having these unique electric sounds to kind of build that attachment. And so it's a very interesting idea, and I can't wait to hear what they come up with. But like I said, I have a lot of confidence in Mr. Zimmer here, and so hopefully that turns out to be awesome. And in other German car news, Audi has revealed 2 new models this week, the SQ8 and the refreshed Q7. First, the SQ8 reveal here is the European model only, so it's a TDI version we're not going to get here, and so I'm not going to bother going through all the mechanical details of it. But here in the States, we should get a gas version with identical looks, but it's not confirmed what engine or performance it would have. There's also an RS version that's supposedly going to be coming down the road eventually, but I just wanted to show these pictures just so you can see what it looks like. It's going to be the predictable styling, you would have expected from an S version of the Q8. And so anyway, interesting to see that. And like I said, I will follow up with more once we have actual details for America. Then they also revealed the 2020 Q7. And again, this is also the European version, so I don't have any mechanical details on this one either. But again, this refresh will spread to the US version. We'll get basically the same looking thing. So here's the stuff on that. It's actually 0.4 inches longer for this refresh, even though it's not an all new platform or anything. It's still the same vehicle, but I guess they just tweaked the bumpers and stuff, and so that gives you 0.4 inches of additional length than before. And it looks great though. I mean, the newest headlight kind of design and taillights and stuff, all looks similar like the Q8 and things like that. The inside's been heavily reworked with all the newest tech from, the most recent Audis like the Q8 interior, which is fantastic, and so a huge upgrade there. But yeah, I mean, as far as engines go, it could just be carryovers, could be slight improvements, but don't expect anything crazy different. It's going to be supposedly, at least in Europe, getting a few cool options here, like a roll stabilization that's from the SQ7 version, and so you can get that as an option here on the regular Q7. You can also get an option for 4-wheel steering now, which is cool. But anyway, these are going to be going on sale in Europe in September and could be in US dealers here by the end of the year. So cool to see that. And the last piece of news this week here is Chrysler is reintroducing the Voyager name, which was previously the Plymouth Voyager back in the day. And basically it's kind of odd because it just replaces the base models of the Pacifica, with the Pacifica name now only going on the higher trim versions of this van. So there doesn't have any pricing announced yet, but it seems like these budget Voyagers are going to try and get people into the newer Chrysler and out of the older Dodge Grand Caravan, which they still sell a ton of. They actually sell, I think they said almost double what they sell of the Pacifica, just because the Grand Caravan is so much cheaper. I mean, it's like mid 20,000s versus the average transaction price on a Pacifica is well into the 30s. So for families that don't have a ton of money to spend, they're just going for the Grand Caravan. They don't care about any kind of nice interior or upgraded safety or anything, driving dynamics wise. They just want something to haul kids. This is the cheapest thing, and so they still buy tons of Grand Caravans. Also, fleets are buying tons of them as well, so that kind of feeds into that too. So I think that's what this new Voyager is trying to kind of maybe slowly phase out the Grand Caravan. They didn't say anything about phasing out the Grand Caravan or trying to do that, so that's just my hypothesis here. But, I think that's kind of what they're doing with this. Again, the pricing will really determine just how much this takes over for the Grand Caravan. But it's kind of odd they're keeping it as a Chrysler, though, too, because, back in the day, they had Plymouth, Dodge, and Chrysler all had the same van, and they just did different things. I was expecting, it would make more sense to name it a Dodge Voyager, give it a different grille with Dodge badge, and, kind of maybe make some of the stuff on the interior a little less nice to kind of further bring down that price. And then, you could have something to actually replace the Grand Caravan with that's going to be coming in at a similar price without losing any money, really. And, but it's going to be a Chrysler. It might be a little confusing for shoppers that are like, that one's a Voyager, that one's Pacifica. They're the same thing. But yeah, that's, and also the Voyagers are going to be available to rental fleets now. So, rental fleets previously didn't want to spend tons of money on loaded up Pacificas. Now they can get a base bare bones Voyager and offer those as rental fleets, which should help them out and should help, again, boost those Pacifica sales. So anyway, very interesting. I mean, as a 90s kid, I'm excited to see the Voyager name back just because I'm strangely, just sentimental, I suppose. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, anyway, let me know your thoughts on that one in the comments below. But that's it for all the news this week, guys. So thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on everything here in the comments below. And I'll see you guys next week. Take care.